I'm saxophonist Keith Loftus, and welcome to the third episode of Coffee with Loftus. I'm really excited to sit down with my good friend, vocalist, financial planner, and thought leader, Val Gay. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or tea, and enjoy. Val Gay, thank you so much for joining me for the third episode of Coffee with Loftus.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Keith. I'm super excited and a little bit nervous. As you know, like 30 seconds ago, I didn't know what we were talking about. So now I'm nervous.
I'm nervous as well. I mean, because your profile is so amazing. Just looking at all the work you've done is truly, I'm like amazed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So let me ask you, first of all, how have you been doing during the pandemic?
You know, I've been good, honestly. I can't complain. I'm so grateful and still sad by all of this, right? I'm saddened by the loss of life. I'm saddened by the loss of income for so many people. I'm saddened by dreams being deferred and blown up during this time period. And then you add all of the civil unrest, which I'm both sad, or not just both, triple sad and angry, and actually glad that it's finally coming to the fore where it's not going away. Yeah. You know, so all three, I cycle through that. And then ultimately, I'm super content and super grateful. Grateful, yeah. That's the word. I'm grateful overall.
For sure. Well, I gotta say, Val, you're probably one of the most inspiring and driven people that I know ever since we met a few years back with Ruth, Nami Floyd's group. I mean, that first conversation, I was like blown away. I was like so inspired, and wow. You're so inspiring.
Well, likewise.
So let's talk about a little history. So you're originally from Philly?
I'm from Philly. I'm Philly, okay. West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Wow. So how did you get introduced to music?
I was born into a musical family, and music being very general, like kind of in the background. Actually, not general at all. It's very specific. My father is one of seven from Suffolk, Virginia. He moved to Philadelphia following his older sister, who's like a decade older than him. He came really as a teenager, not even a teenager, to babysit. My aunt is crazy. Like 60 years ago, my aunt had open heart surgery, and she's still here today, which is amazing. It's like more than 60 years, 62 years ago, something like that. And so my father came to Philadelphia, but that family that he came from, all of them are musical. Every one of my uncles, my aunts, I have 34 first cousins. Nearly all of them are musicians in some way, mostly play by ear. I'm the only, with the exception of my grandmother, the only female musician who plays an instrument, right? And not just sing. I shouldn't just say just sing, but in addition to singing, like all of my female cousins have amazing voices, and they chose just to sing, whereas most of the male cousins, they just chose an instrument and they started playing it. If it was a guitar, a bass, a drum, an organ, keyboard, you know, a couple horns, right? Like it's, right. So music was always there. I think my parents recognized that I had a musical gift and an ear very young and tried to get me piano lessons. And I was just like, not for me. And as I was sporadically. And it really wasn't until senior year of high school, December, frankly, of my senior year of high school, where I made the decision to be a musician. I saw Jessie Norman make her American debut at Opera Philadelphia, and it changed my life that night. I didn't want to go to opera. I did not want to go on a Friday night. I hate the cold. So the fact that I had to go outside at night in the cold in December, did not want to go. Every part of me did not want to go. And I just thank God every day that I did get to go. And I got to be touched by something that I didn't know existed. So the music touched something inside of me that I didn't know existed. And then music became the gateway for me, the portal to my passion, the portal to my purpose, the portal to me becoming, and I continue to become, as Michelle Obama said, I continue to become who I am, but it's through this stream of music, which is now blossomed out into creativity writ large. So yeah, that's
Wow.
it.
Yeah, because I'm just from that first meeting, I mean, you were singing, and then you played xylophone as well. I was like, wow.
Well, I say, Ruth called me when she said that she wanted me to sing background. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I finally made it, because I wanted so badly for so long, but I was too scared to tell her. You know, Ruth, I've known Ruth since high school, and so
Wow.
always admired her artistry, her creativity. She's the way she thinks. She's amazing. The fact that she is equally accomplished as a photographer as she is a musician, a composer, a singer, like just amazing. And that she did it all from scratch is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And so she called me one day and said, hey, and you know how Ruth is. Hey, do you think, could you play? I have a line, I hear it in my head. Could you play the xylophone on it? Do you play the xylophone? And I was like, sure. So I ordered a xylophone. I started playing, like, wait, I missed that day in third grade when the teacher came through with the xylophone. I never played the xylophone before. And I remember when we were at that gig, it was amazing. And finally, I figured, like, we're about to go on stage. I should probably just confess. And that way it wouldn't be on my shoulders. I remember saying to you and Matthew and and Ruth knew it. At that point, I'd already confessed to Ruth, but she was kind of like, don't tell anybody. I was like, guys, I just want to say, you know, it's the elephant in the room. You know it. I know it. You're all world-class musicians. I just picked this thing up 3 weeks ago. So let's just go. Oh, and Aaron Grace was on keyboard. Like, oh my gosh. It was, I mean, I appreciate it. Like, I still laugh at the point. At one point, Ruth turned around, everyone says, okay, everybody just improvise there. I was like, this is awesome. So I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Wow. And I would hear your line. I was like, oh, I'm gonna play that line. And I'm gonna answer this person. And then finally she turned around and she was like, she didn't say these words, but it was because she's so elegant and kind. But the look in her eyes was like, for the love of God, stop playing.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Wow.
I just remember Mark is so sweet. And I was right next to Mark and I saw him mouth her.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
But I'm so grateful because, you know, I have now another instrument. I continue to practice it. I'm getting better. It's the mallets. What I decided, it was the mallets and I had this tiny little thing with it was super high pitched. It was too cutting. And I also learned on a xylophone, you really can't like hit the bars as hard as you can on a repetitive high C. Like, you just probably shouldn't do that. In a very, you know, live room, you probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
Like, you know, so anyway. Wow. But I do play piano and organ and a little French horn, and I can play 3 chords and guitar. And I'm gonna start learning the bass soon, which I'm super excited. Oh, drums. I can play drums a little bit. So yeah, so I'm super excited.
That's amazing. Well, my next question is, you're the other side of music. You're a financial planner. All your other organizations that you work with, and your businesses. I wanted to ask you if you could touch on some of these businesses that the Davis Gay, the Ever Ensemble, Fortress Arts. I mean, could you just give us a little taste of each organization?
Sure. So the very first one is Fortress Arts Academy. I started it in 2006 as a way to provide experiential access to the arts, and specifically music, to young people and adults in under-resourced communities in Philadelphia, primarily through my church. I saw that the richness that I received as a musician, and no one thought I was going to be a professional musician or anything like that, even though I was getting paid to run a choir, but still it's like a different kind of thing. We were missing that in my church. And so I went to the music director and to the pastor and said, hey, can I start this thing? And we were like, sure. And it was supposed to be just for kids, but then I had a waiting list longer of adults than I did for kids. And so that's grown over the years. I'm so grateful for it. Also, so then that led to Syncopate Advisors, Like you said, I am a certified financial planner. And when I was with a wealth management firm, PNC Advisors, one of my colleagues, Steve Papatera, who is now the co-founder of Syncopate with Me and the principal, he is a professional jazz drummer. And you can't make, honestly, Keith, you and I say this all the time, you can't make this up. So I got to be music director at the bank for 6 years. What bank has a music director, right? Like, so I had a choir, I had a band, and so Steve was a professional jazz drummer. My keyboard player also played accordion, and he was an award-winning accordion. If anyone knows about Philadelphia, the Mummers, he was in the Fralinger string band, and he played both banjo and accordion. So, and he could play keyboards. The law department, there was something about the law department. They love to generate trumpeters. So we had 3 trumpets. We had 1 flutist, somebody who could play ukulele, and I always would have to hire a bass player. And every year from like Thanksgiving to Christmas Eve, we would rehearse on our own time. I would book a conference room. I would have 2 meetings, so one with the band and then one rehearsal with the choir during our lunch periods. And then on Christmas Eve, we would come together. When I first started at the bank, they had this long tradition. There's a long tradition in Philadelphia that a lot of corporations had choirs and orchestras, and one of the hospitals continued to do like the Messiah every year, Handel's Messiah, with full orchestra made up of people from the staff, which is amazing. And so it was all classical. It was all Christmas. And, you know, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, but it bothered me that on this first time I went, there was this little 12-year-old girl. Her mother's name was Judy Stein. I don't remember the little girl's name. I just remember that she was compelled to be there. She had to be there for political reasons because her mother was the lawyer to our group, and her mother was there, but it was not, her tradition was not her religion. And it just didn't feel right to me. And so I did that for 2 years. And when they asked me, the leaders came to me, the man who had been doing it for 40 years as a staffer, retired. And they said, will you take it over? I was like, yeah, but there's some things I would want to change. And they were like, oh, good. We didn't like it that way anyway. So that's when I opened it up to anybody who wanted to sing. I was like, I'm just going to take the Black Baptist church choir approach. If you can sing, great. If you can't, you and I'm going to give you the look. And when I give you the look, you're just going to go, and nobody will know, you know? So we had a couple of people like that. And then I started recruiting all of these musicians, and it was amazing. And it prepared for the next thing. So fast forward, Steve and I start this company, and we work with communications for folks. We help them with their public speaking. We help them to drill down on what their message is and how their message can stick to their own stories as well as to others. So whether they're trying to develop their client base, or they have a presentation to give, they're doing something on Zoom, or they're doing something live, you know, we coach them with that, which is great. Then there is Davis Gay and Associates with my long-term colleague and peer, Kelly Davis. We started in 2017. Steve and I started in 2017. Kelly and I started this company, and we provide, with another partner, Caller Inspector, a coaching and facilitation and consulting to nonprofits, for-profits who are really looking at sticky issues. So prior to last year, most of the sticky issues were around communication. Like, how do I talk to these people? And a lot of it was internal stuff, people like battling, and us kind of coming in, coaching with the executive leader and working with the teams. Since COVID, and frankly, since last May, we have been doing a lot of diversity, equity, access, and inclusion work, and particularly around strategic planning. One of the first questions we ask people, or I ask, as the only principal of color in my organization, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to hire us? Why do you want to do this work? And to date, thank goodness, well, we've only had one person that said, because I'm just trying to get the funders off my butt. That answer is like, no, thank you. Thank you so much. Good luck to you. We're not going to do this work. But for the people who say, we really want to do this work, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know how to do this work. Then we go in and we dive in and really help them through that. I should say Kelly and Carolyn as well as myself, have run other organizations. I ran a nonprofit arts organization, Art Sanctuary in Philadelphia for about 7-8 years. Kelly, the lawyer, was a public defender, ran a homeless shelter, a women's shelter. Carolyn worked for the NEA and at Columbia University and comes through the theater part of the arts. And so we come together, and I think we're a formidable team. And so that's great. Then there is Soulful Affirmations. I started that last year. That's a COVID baby. But although I've been thinking about it for quite some time, and that's with my partner, Helena Warren, who she does a lot in like yoga, holistic living. She's amazing. And what we do is we take affirmations that we that folks through a series of surveys, we take their surveys and then we provide customized affirmations for the issues that they are looking to solve in their lives. Let's say I'm lonely, and and then what's most powerful about it, so you hear these affirmations that are directly attached to the thing that you want to fix in your body, is it physical, emotional, spiritually? But then the piece that is really powerful, I think, is that we then undergird it with solfeggio frequencies, which are the pure tones. So like, frequency 417 hertz, right? 920, like all of those things. And so each of those solfeggio frequencies have been scientifically proven to alter the DNA. And so we take something that has already been scientifically proven, from the Bible to any major faith, they'll talk about how you speak to yourself, right? We know in social or popular environment, how you speak to yourself is really important. So imagine if you're lonely, for example, and you're hearing the affirmation of, I am surrounded by love everywhere I go. I am loved everywhere I go. I am accepted. Right? You're hearing that. And then it's undergirded by the frequency that goes with that, right? To really lock it in. So that's soulful. So it's soul-full affirmations. And then finally, the latest COVID baby is my new company called Fusevox. Actually, I just repurposed the name, but it's Fusevox. Fusevox is like the fuse box, but the vox as in the voice. So we're taking lots of different things and putting them together. And it's the first thing that we're coming out of the Fusevox line is an apparel line called Power Worn, where we take denim and we mix it. So American denim mixed with African Ankara print. And inside of each piece is an affirmation.
Wow.
Affirmations are, I am loved, I am enough. So imagine you put on something that's really cool, that's available on my website and in stores in Philadelphia. I just got notice of another sale today, which is yay.
Beautiful.
Put it on and you are wearing your affirmation. You're wearing your power. So Power Worn. And that was an idea that came because of something that I tried to do. And it was, I bought a jacket. I needed a jacket. I needed a denim jacket. I went to a conference that day that it was really chilly, too cold for a sweater, not cold enough for a coat. I was like, I need a denim jacket. Had on 2 sweaters. I was very uncomfortable. A friend who I went with, we finished the women's conference, and like in most arenas, there's usually the vendors. And so I went out and there was a vendor, this beautiful denim jacket. I was like, oh, didn't I say I need a denim jacket? I get the jacket. On the back of the jacket in white cursive letters, embroidered about this big. Each letter is about this big, or the capital, and then the smaller one's about this big, across the entire back. Passion, purpose, potential. And I was like, oh, and I was just feeling emotional, like, yes, this is great. So I put that jacket on. It was reasonably priced. I bought it. Great jacket. I wore it twice because I'm not the kind of person that will wear somebody else's thing on my back, but I'm also super frugal. So I wasn't going to throw it away, and I wasn't going to buy a new jacket because I paid good money for that jacket.
Right.
So one day while talking to Ruth on the phone, I remembered that I had all this fabric that I had gotten in Paris under the pretense of making pillows. Every time I go to Paris, I go to Little Africa, I get something made, I get that fabric, and then I buy more fabric. And I started tricking out. I was like, it was getting cold again. I need to wear this jacket. And I started tricking it out. And then I started wearing the jacket. And no matter where I went, people were like, huh, that's a nice jacket. So our last gig in 2020 together, we were flown out, and so here we are, first class. For whatever reason, we were the last people on the plane instead of the first. So there were 4 of us that got on the plane, and it was funny to watch the faces of the 4 people who had to now share their seat because they thought they had like a double wide in first class. And so they were not happy. And the man sitting next to me was absolutely not happy. And it was clear, but I was like, I don't care. I'm in first class. Can I have some pretzels, please? And like, he was so like, he was fidgeting and agitated, but halfway through the flight, I saw him peripherally just kind of look over. He looked down, he goes, that's a nice jacket. I was like, thank you, it's my design. And then I went to the bathroom and he saw the back. On the way back, he goes, are you from LA? And I was like, because we were heading to LA. And I was like, no, I'm from Philly. He goes, oh, you feel like LA. He goes, if you were from LA, I would introduce you to some distributors and other manufacturers. I was like, I can fly. So we exchanged
right, of course.
That conversation, though, or the jacket opened up a conversation, and he completely warmed up, told me his whole life story, including what he did for a living. I know about his wife. I know about his kids, all of that. Whereas this is the man that was literally like that. But it was, and so I would say to anyone, anything creative that you have, it really can, it's weird. It like opens doors. You know this, Keith. It opens doors in ways that you never expect. There's a Bible verse that says a man's gift or a person's gift will open, a person's gift will make room for them and usher them into the presence of greatness. And, I'm not even saying this man was great or anything like that, but it just stuck with me that this person who was not my demographic, like in no other way wanted to have anything to do with me, started a relationship with me because of the thing that I was wearing that I created, Wow. And it literally went from the kingpin in the neighborhood was like, yo, Miss Val, let me hold the jacket to literally like 85-year-old, like, honey, I love that jacket. So I decided, well, I didn't decide. Somebody said to me, you should probably sell that. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not doing that. And she kept pushing me. Yeah. And finally I was like, maybe I could do it, but I don't want to do it by myself because I know, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to do it by myself, but it would be really cool if I got maybe 1 or 2 elders, like some elderly Black women to do it and to continue the tradition. And literally this 31-year-old woman who I was talking to says, I know one. So the next thing I know, Mrs. Wiggins is making my jackets.
Wow.
And so, so anyway, those are my company.
I would like to give a special shout out to Cave de Saint Marc, a Brooklyn-based coffee company that makes amazing Haitian coffee. So if you're in the market for some great, amazing Haitian coffee, please contact them. You won't be disappointed. Take care. Where do you find the time and how do you organize yourself to be a musician, to run, 4 companies and be on the board of this? And you just released a new single, right?
I did. I have a whole project, but I realized at the last second that I need to do it a single at a time. That was 3 years in the making. I mean, it's been done for quite some time.
I know how it is.
Yeah.
I know how
but
it is.
Again, I always say God protects babies in this fool, because if I had released it when I wanted to, it wouldn't have happened, right, in the right way. So this is working out really well. I'm really grateful. So this is another, for me, a blessing of COVID. I'm blessed that I can do my work. I do have a 9-to-5 job. It's like, I say 9 to 5 in quotations because the people that I serve as a chief experience officer and deputy director of audience engagement for the Barnes Foundation, which is a museum and facility. And I love it there.
We played there.
Yes, we played there. Yeah. But my staff runs from the curator of public programs, which is great, to community engagement and family programs, which is out in community, to our guest and protection services, which is basically the security function and the frontline function. And it's a 24/7, 7 days a week, kind of, all of them doing their things. So what I've learned though, I'm so grateful in all of this is if you heard, if you were really listening to what I said, almost everything I do is in partnership with somebody else. And so what it allows me to do is to bring my best and highest use to whatever I'm doing. And I'm super grateful for that, to be in a position to do that. So for example, at the Barnes, I'm not curating like public programming. Like, somebody might come to me, I'm like, go talk to Kathleen. Like that's her job. Like, and I'm not going to tell her how to do her job, right? I'm not the one, I will go and visit and observe what we're doing in the community, but I'm not the one running it. We have somebody for that. What they need me to do are the things I am uniquely qualified to do, either positionally or just in who I am, right? And so, my job as I see it for them is to run in front of them and look out over the horizon. If I see potholes, fill them in. If I see obstacles, knock them down so that they can smoothly do what they do best. And they're experts. And so that is an amazing part. Similarly, with all of my partnerships, all of my organizations, like with Soulful Affirmations, I'm not writing the affirmations because I can barely tell you one just now, right? But Halana does that, and she does it really well. With Davis Gay and Associates, we have divided up the work so that we are each bringing our best and highest use. And even with Fortress Arts Academy, I would say for the first 10 years of the organization, we would have classes on Saturday mornings. I would be up super god awful early, 6 something in the morning, with a backpack on filled with like musical education stuff, paraphernalia. So we taught theory, composition, as well as group lessons, keyboard, voice, drums. Sometimes we actually had one time we had a saxophone flute teacher, which was great, and guitar and bass, guitar and bass. But I would be like schlepping all this stuff there. And now I have a head of school. I have an administrator who does all that. And we have teachers who do all of that. So in most of the organizations and the things that I do run, again, I can be super honed in at the place where I am best used and best serving. If there's somebody else who can do the same thing that I do, then I don't do it. Let them and build them up, and so that's grateful. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'm grateful is that a side benefit of COVID is that I sit here in my conference room, as I call it, is also my known as my middle school bedroom, because I moved back to the house that I grew up from age of 1 to 14. I call it Operation Back to the Hood. But I get to work from here, right? So I didn't realize until COVID how much time went into preparing for work and getting to work, right? So you got to get up, you make your coffee, you take a shower, you get dressed, you go into a commute, even if it's a short commute. What if I could take most of that time, right? I still make the coffee, I still shower, thank goodness I brush my teeth. But what if the rest of that time I could be productive, right? And so if you add that up over the course of a week, you probably got a full workday, And so that's what I learned with my 2 COVID babies, that I didn't do anything extra. I just used that time differently. And that's basically all it is. And then, recognizing every now and then it gets overwhelming. And when things do get overwhelming, I have to take a step back, like, okay, what am I not doing? Or what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? And who's supposed to be doing that's not me, and that kind of thing. And also learning how to say no. I've learned how to say no, which is great. So right now, the things that I'm doing, with the exception of maybe 1.5 things that I'm obligated to do, everything I do, I joyfully do it, including making music. I'm so grateful that I still get to make music and get to make music at high levels with amazing musicians. I'm so fortunate, like so incredibly fortunate. And so, so that's how I get to do that stuff.
Val, it seems that music is kind of underscores everything that you do. I mean, like at the, I think the bank, I mean, you guys had a music program. I mean, so it seems like that, that music is that through line through everything that you do, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and it's so fun because to other people, so, in my career, my professional career, if you will, I I was a wealth manager and I'm a certified financial planner. Came in through to the bank, into a bank, I should say. And then from there, because of a concert that my colleagues pushed me towards, we were had this very elite event, and it was at our local public radio, public television station. This woman was filming a TV show, like one of those shows that they do in between when they're doing like the asking for money. It's like,
Right.
you have audience and stuff. So she was one of those ladies, and she was talking about women's empowerment and all this stuff. They went for a break to do the asking for the money. She said, "Is there anybody here who should be doing something else?" And literally, you can't make this up. Both women on either side of me grabbed my elbows and pushed my hands up. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And they were like, and she was like, "Clearly, you should be doing something else." I'm like, "What should you do?" I was like, "I don't know." And they both said singing. I was like, and so there was someone in the audience. She never heard me, gave me a concert that day.
Wow.
Booked me for a concert for Cherry Hill, New Jersey, the Cherry Blossom Festival. So a few weeks later, I'm in New Jersey giving this concert. And in between so it was like the prelude of the song, I'm about to sing. I look out the window. It's a really old, rustic building, almost like a former schoolhouse with high windows. And I looked out. It's a beautiful day. It's a Sunday afternoon. And I was like, what a beautiful day. Shoot, I got to go manage money tomorrow. There's got to be something better I could be doing with my life. And that's my thought. And then it was time to sing. And so to your point, music has been a part of everything. I was so happy in that moment. And the realization I had to do something else, like it propelled me to do something else. Literally the next day I started thinking, and next thing I know, 4 months later, I'm now at Temple University as Director of Development and Alumni Affairs for the College of Education. I had no idea, but I was being prepared all along because I had been volunteering for what turned out to be a fundraising organization, but I just didn't know it. They asked me to ask people for money, and I really cared about the cause. And so I would ask, not knowing that was preparing me for this thing. While I'm at Temple, I got my master's and postmaster's in music, which then opened me up to a whole world of arts administration, doing world premieres for folks like Hannibal Lecumbe and, doing all these things. And again, to your point, it was music. Music was like my stream that I've been riding. And frankly, it's been probably instinctual more than anything else. That's not true. That's not true. Instinct has been the undergirding. But the decision, the intentionality is once I saw the idea in my head, I knew I had to go for it, regardless of what other people said.
Yeah.
And people thought I was foolish, right? On paper, does not sound wise to go from, I was the only wealth manager at PNC Advisors out of 26,000 employees at that time. It was a much smaller organization than it is now. It's like 80,000 employees now, but 26,000 nationally in 9 markets across the country. I was the only one that looked like me who did what I did.
Wow.
One in Philadelphia of all the banks who did what I did. I was just starting to get a nice like media kind of portfolio for speaking, being on TV, radio, people flying me out to conferences to speak on wealth management, on investments 101, all of those things. And I loved it, but it wasn't my passion. And I'm so grateful. And to this day, I still have friends who are my clients who are now my friends, and I'm grateful going into Temple and all those things, but I know it did not sound right to people. And because I saw their faces and I just pretended that I didn't understand what they were saying to me, or that I just ignored the smirks. I ignored the kind of thing. I ignored the whispering. I ignored the head shaking because I knew what I was being called to do, if you will, that I knew I wasn't supposed to stay there. I was supposed to take what I learned and then bring it to the next thing. And similarly, when I left Temple, I stayed in there 8 years. I became an assistant dean. I ran fundraising, alumni affairs, and communications for this college. Had about 40,000 alumni. It was a great gig. Temple University is an amazing place to live, to work and live. You can stay there for the rest of your career. It was the same thing at PNC. They both have, PNC had the Quarter Century Club. You couldn't get in until you've been there for 25 years. Hundreds of people were a part of that. Temple has a 20-year club. Can't get in unless you're 20. And people boast being there 30, 40 years. The current president, who's just retiring, was there for 45 years or something like that, maybe 50, I'm not sure, right? So you could go and be there. And they're great places, but choosing to go to Art Sanctuary, for example. And so learning how, so it doesn't feel comfortable in the time period, right? But being on the stream is like, it becomes rocky. But when you know what you know, despite what everybody else is doing. My father particularly said, you have to live your own life. Your mother and I cannot make your decisions for you. And neither can anybody else. Don't ever let anybody else tell you what you should do with your life. You pray, you do. And if you make a mistake, then you get up and try it again. And so it's so funny because the same people who laughed at me years ago, I didn't forget. Many of them have come back to me years later. No one ever apologized. It was like, Val, I'm thinking about changing careers. Can you give me some advice? That kind of stuff. And it's fine. I never held anything against anyone because you don't know what you don't know. The only one person who was my colleague, he said, dude, please just live your life. Don't do like what I did. I became an accountant because my father made me become an accountant and I hate it. Don't do that. Live. And it was weird because we were peers and I was like, dude, you're like 32. You can escape, You're an adult now. But he was like, but his mindset was so boxed in that he just saw himself. That's all he could do. Yeah. When there's so many other things that we can do and still continue, So I'll say that I am a generalist with specialist tendencies. I love so many things, but everything that I've done, I've gone deep in and am considered a specialist. And I'm considered a specialist as a certified financial planner or portfolio manager. I'm considered a specialist in fundraising. I'm considered a specialist in nonprofit leadership. And I use all of those. And certainly as a musician, right? Like all my degrees are in mostly classical singing, right? So, but to me, everything is connected,
Absolutely.
And it's like,
Absolutely.
I feel like I've had one job. It's just been in different places. It all feels the same to me.
Wow. Val, thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you so much.
I have my coffee with Loftus.
That's right.
I actually have my first thing that I think. So it says dream epic. It says dream big, but I cross out big because big is not big enough. Dream epic.
I love it. Val, thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I'm grateful. I mean, it's weird, talking about myself, but I'm so grateful.
Val,
grateful.
Like I said in the beginning, since day one, since I met you, you've been so supportive and so inspiring. Mm-hmm. I mean, your energy is just, you're so radiant, and I love it, and I thank you.
Thank you. I thank you. And I need to say this is a plug for you too, and for something else. As you know, as actually another COVID babies, I started an interview series. I actually been doing curated videos, highlighting and uplifting Black men, because frankly, I don't believe enough people do it. I mean, in fact, it's the opposite in our society. And so when COVID hit, I would walk up to people all over the world, Black men all over the world, and say, hi, my name is Val. I have this series. Can I take your photo and a video? If you have social media, I'll tag you. And then I would curate these videos. So Black doctors, Black musicians, essential workers, all of that stuff. When COVID hit, it moved to an interview. And so I'm so grateful that you are part of that series. And something I haven't told you is that initially I was just saying, I knew we had 6 questions. That's all I wanted, was just 6 questions, the same 6 questions, as a way to really show the diversity of this community, right? And so I've decided that it's going to be 100 Black men, and we're well on our way to 100 Black men,
Wow.
where one day young kings, anybody, can go to this repository, see these same 6 questions with 100 different answers, and look for guidance and get better understanding of this amazing group of people. And I'm so grateful that you are one of them, Keith. And I'm so glad that you answered. I loved your interview. And I just hope,
Val, I was honored. I was honored.
I'm so honored. I was so honored. I was so nervous when I was sending you a text. I was like, please say yes, please say yes.
Of course. So Val, you know what? I think we may have to do a part 2.
Okay.
Because I'm sure there's a few more things I wanted to ask you, but
okay.
But let's do a part 2.
Let's do a part 2. Sounds good.
Val Gay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith Loftus. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, talk soon.
All right, talk soon. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.